All right, greetings everybody from the Hannover Messe 2026. We're here with our friend Ben, which needs no introduction, but Ben, give us just a brief introduction about your background. And I know you've been on IoT World's session, so welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi to everyone there at home. So my name's Ben Corbett. I'm a solutions engineer at InfluxData. So basically my role revolves around helping people to understand if InfluxDB is going to be a good fit for their use case, making sure they get the most out of it, and just being that kind of technical point of contact. It's been at Influx for over 4.5 years and always been in engineering. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you, Ben. Now, maybe to start with, tell us a little bit what you're seeing in manufacturing right now. I know you've only been here for a day at Hanover, but just in general, you talk to a lot of customers.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think over the 4.5 years since I've been at Influx, we've seen a really big trend shift in manufacturing, whereby I think the pull has always been there. The allure of modern use cases, building a foundation for people to attack. Anomaly detection, Industry 4.0 kind of intelligent use cases, that pull has always been there. But more recently, and kind of more than ever, we're seeing a big push. So a big push towards people trying to move away from more traditional technologies that perhaps, in the best case, are representing a bit of a bottleneck to progress. And in the worst case, sometimes a blocker to that progress. So engineering teams are kind of in between this pull and a push. And I think modernization projects are now no longer a roadmap item, and they're getting budget behind them, and people are starting to make progress.
Yeah. So explain a little bit more as to why is data and more importantly, the time series data so critical right now for manufacturing?
Yeah, I mean, time series data is the heartbeat of your equipment. It's the lifeblood it's the axis by which all of your analysis and your manufacturing plant operates. So being able to tap into that and listen to your assets in a way that doesn't remove fidelity and is in real time, and you can access it immediately and very quickly in terms of query response, is the right foundation for you to be able to then understand your plant and dig a little bit deeper. So I think that's what we say at Influx. Time is the axis that everything revolves around. But being able to access that is kind of what we do. Yes.
Right now, let's look at the latest version, InfluxDB 3. How is it different from previous versions, and why is it particularly well suited for industrial IoT and manufacturing today?
Yeah, it's a long time in the pipeline, V3, and it's obviously got us all very excited internally. So some of the things that are different with V3 is that we've actually switched to a columnar storage engine. And I guess what that means practically is that the scale has gone up, right? Customers can do a lot more with a lot smaller kind of CPU and resources in InfluxDB. So scale is kind of one of the big limitations we would see with traditional technologies in the manufacturing space, whereas Influx, it's an eventually consistent database. Scale isn't really one of the bottlenecks that we face. So yeah, the performance in terms of scale has gone up. Also, we now have support for unlimited cardinality. So switching from a series-based database into a columnar structure means that the amount of tags and the amount of metadata and context that you can attach to your telemetry, your time series data, the cardinality has no bearing on database performance. So what that means now is that customers who are looking to build that foundation to go after these kind of new use cases can have all of the context attached to the time series data. So they have, essentially more clues in which to do the analysis, which is really key. Also in two more things, in V3, we now support SQL as the standard query language. Obviously, we still have InfluxQL, one of our loved query languages before, but SQL is obviously an industry standard, and it allows us to integrate with SQL-based tooling. As you know, people that operate in the plant love to use SQL. And then lastly, storage. I would say the compression ratio and also our storage methodology has changed. If anyone was to go and use an InfluxDB cluster in the cloud today, in V3, it would be backed by object storage, which obviously gives you a very cheap, kind of almost infinite storage option attached to your platform. So that means people can store data for longer, higher scale, and they can use best practice tooling. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben, for that background. Now, it's not just about collecting data anymore, it's about acting on it.
Yeah.
Double click a little bit on InfluxDB. How does it help basically manufacturing go from data collection to real-time action?
Yeah, great question. So I think At Influx, we always say it's all about building the right foundation for people to go and build those use cases on top of, right? So, are you retaining all of the fidelity? Are you storing it for long enough in order to do the analysis? And can you access it using the tools that your team know and love, right? So I think Influx is the foundation for people to build those on top of. And that's how we kind of supercharge development teams to be able to act on it. Obviously, we're a real-time solution, right? So we have a 0 time to be read. As soon as you write data into Influx, it's immediately queryable. And our query response time as well is it's good for performance-sensitive queries, let's put it that way. So we enable platforms to not only ingest it, but act on it straight away through the query engine.
What does that mean, 0 time to
be read?
To be read.
It means as you write a piece of data into the database, as soon as you get an accepted response, that data is immediately queryable. For some other data technologies, particularly warehousing solutions, the time to be read can be longer for it to filter through and become queryable. For a real-time solution such as Influx, that's, not a factor.
And how does this time series data enable that? What?
Enable the AI use cases, I guess, again, just circling back to the first answer, it's the access by which your plant operates, right? So if you have kind of a full audit trail of how all of your equipment and all of your industrial systems contextualize are performing over time, you have, I guess, a full ledger by which to go back and perform that analysis. So, it always pains me to see customers reducing fidelity or throwing data away for resource or commercial reasons. So in V3, what we've tried to do is create a platform that allows people to retain that scale, retain the fidelity in a cost-efficient way so that they can, empower their engineers and data scientists to do the complicated work.
Now, on the same note, I've heard a lot of the words this week around focusing on outcome, which is a nice progression into the world of AI now. Maybe talk about what's the connection between the data you're managing and the real world AI-driven outcomes, if it can.
Yeah. So I guess, again, Influx, as I mentioned before, is kind of just around being the foundation of that data platform for you to build workflows on top of. So when it comes to detecting and explaining, obviously Influx is the ledger by which you can query to do that. And when it comes to acting, then we get into what applications are customers building on top of the data persistence layer being Influx, which creates those actions. Is it a work order that you're creating? Is it an alert to a particular system? Is it an email? Is it an integration with your ERP or MES? All of those are possible. And I think one key thing that we like with Influx is that software development kits in every major language and integration methods are all open and industry best practice and not proprietary. So any development team would be able to build an application layer on top of Influx to create those actions and workflows on top.
Got it. Thank you for that. Now this week you're announcing at Hannover Messe your partnership with Litmus, which is an industrial edge data provider. The question is maybe if you can double click a little bit on how does it help the manufacturing get more value from the data?
Yeah. This is something that's really close to my heart. I'm quite passionate about it. I've been working on the Litmus partnership for a while now. And as I mentioned in the beginning, my background is very much kind of manufacturing, coming from a manufacturing engineering background. Influx has become a bit of a standard in industrial IoT platforms, particularly in the European market, the vast majority of what we do. One gap that I noticed in those platforms, and coming from the kind of go-to-market area as well, customers would always ask me, I've got all of these scattered industrial data sources. How do I collect? How do I do things like standardization and tag mapping? Influx never really had a fantastic answer for that in the kind of industrial space. We obviously have Telegraph, which is fantastic, but it doesn't have an industrial specialism. And whether it's an RFP or whether it's a call I'm having with a prospect, it just came up again and again. I don't have standardization across my plant. How do I build a suite of connections that can integrate with them all, standardize, but also contextualize my time series data with data from different systems? This is where the partnership with Litmus has come in, right? So I think, to say it plainly, started popping up on a lot of my customers' architecture diagrams. And then implementation partners were speaking very, very fondly of them. And of course, they actually already use InfluxDB as part of their solution. So we reached out, we already had some common customers, and we thought it's got a very stronger, better together message. So that's where the partnership with Litmus kind of came from.
Thanks for that background, and maybe give us a little bit of history on how does that compare to the traditional way, how the customers or manufacturers use a data historian. What's different about this approach, and could it serve as a modern alternative to legacy data historians?
Yeah, absolutely. I get asked this question every week. Customers come by and say, I'm in a bind. I've got an expensive renewal with my OSI PI implementation, or other historians as well, potentially a vendor lock-in situation. It's also proprietary. It's difficult to integrate with. My teams don't know how to work with it. It's siloed. We're looking to modernize it, but we have this industrial connectivity challenge and the contextualization challenge. So obviously it's historians are more of a buy solution. They're an end-to-end platform. But for companies willing to save money and also go into the kind of build option, InfluxDB and Litmus represent two components of a reference architecture, which can be a good option to a modern historian replacement or modernization, right? So that's kind of one of the reasons for the partnership as well, is for us to kind of help out those organizations so they can begin to take advantage of next generation use cases, AI and ML.
Thank you, Ben. Any last parting words for our viewer that are listening? Any other suggestions?
Yeah, I guess all I would say is that if you have any questions, if you feel like you might have any challenges in your industrial tech stack, reach out to us. We have community Slack forums, Discords, and also our website. You'll see a contact form. We've got many friendly faces at Influx, and we'll be the first ones to say when Influx isn't the right technology choice for you and you should use another technology choice. So feel free to reach out. If you're at Hannover Messe, come by the booth and say hi.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate the insights, and look forward for updates from Influx and the Litmus story.
Yeah, thanks so much.